In the high stakes worlds of law and commerce, partnerships and understanding are critical. Yet gaps remain between these interconnected fields. Join us as we sit down with industry leaders to highlight how collaboration can make impact. This is Bridging the Gap. Nico Smith is a cybersecurity expert. With over 11 years of dedicated service in cybersecurity, Nico is an accomplished operations manager with a notable track record in the cyber domain. His expertise lies in enhancing operational strategies, leading quality improvement initiatives, and fostering team collaboration. Recognized for his multifaceted skills ranging from incidents management to Splunk Engineering, Nico Smith's comprehensive knowledge in cybersecurity is underscored by his experience in cyber defensive operations at organizations such as Science Applications International Corporation and the Defensive Counterintelligence Security Agency. His role in the United States Army, from leading engineers at Task Force Echo to driving discovery and counter infiltration at the 169th Cyber Protection Team, displays his commitment to robust cybersecurity practices. Nico Smith's tenure as an offensive operations officer with the National Guard Bureau saw him spearheading red team strategies against formidable blue teams, cementing his reputation as an adept strategist. Having served in diverse capacities such as a military intelligence officer, senior help desk analyst, freelance security analyst, and even as a brigade engineer, Nico Smith's holistic approach to cybersecurity is evident. Beyond the defense realm, his roles at esteemed firms like Avant, Huron Consulting Group, and Nintendo of America underline his ability and dedication to maintaining the highest standards of cyber hygiene. Nico Smith holds a Bachelor of Science in Graphic Design from Columbia College Chicago, further augmented by specialized training in intelligence from the United States Army Intelligence School, and a passionate drive for hardware hacking and systems engineering. His innovative streak is underlined by the creation of the first and only functioning cyber challenge coin within the Department of Defense. His Capture the Flag event was awarded the prestigious Black Badge on his first appearance at the DEF CON 29 Security Conference. A fervent contributor to the cybersecurity community, Nico Smith is the brain behind SOX CTF, and his work has been featured at DEF CON and SANS DFIR Summit 2020. As a passionate advocate for knowledge sharing, Nico Smith's write-ups and podcasts can be explored on platforms such as Medium and soldiersandsaints.com. An ardent participant in the maker and hacker ecosystem, his efforts have always been directed towards learning and generously sharing his knowledge with the community. Nico Smith's contributions to the field of cybersecurity, combined with his relentless drive for excellence, make him an invaluable asset in the ever-evolving cyber landscape. Please join me in welcoming to Bridging the Gap, Nico Smith.
Wow.
Woo!
Thanks for all the accolades, I guess.
that is quite the accomplishment. And it's funny because every episode I meet someone who is the first, right? And so they're pioneering in all these different ways. And the best part is they're Black. So we get to talk about all the wonderful things that we do, making sure the legacy of Black excellence lives on, and also serving our community as well as the general public, doing good for the planet. So it is an honor to meet you, Sox. And I'm excited to be a blurred today and talk about the awesome things you're doing for the Pro Se community, but then also talk about everything you're doing in the InfoSec community that we can talk about and not violate your security clearances.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, giving me the opportunity to leverage your platform and to kind of share the gospel of cyber to everyone who's interested in hearing.
Excellent. So let's go ahead and start the show. Today's format is going to be a little bit different, and we're going to start with Pro Se. So for those of you guys that don't know, Pro Se means self. So what Nico has done is he's created some really cool strategies for helping people aggregate cases and do things for themselves inside of the legal system. So we're going to go ahead and start with some ways that attorneys can also help the community the same way Nico's helping the community. So how can attorneys assist people pursuing pro se legal matters while still maintaining ethical boundaries, in your opinion?
Well, I think, to be honest and fair, the legal or attorneys at large have done their very best at providing kind of open source or free things to give things like such as law clinics, time for you to sit down and get a free 30 seconds or free 30 minutes to really talk to them about what your case is surrounding. And I think because attorneys are in a very unique position, right? They're both duty bound to protect the citizens, but also to act within certain parameters. I think by engaging and making themselves more available for pro se litigants to kind of ask Q&A questions with. One of the things that I did myself as I was going through different legal encounters is one of the methods that I used to educate myself was I actually went into court to sit down and actually observe how attorneys conducted themselves. And based upon that, from dress, it's the small nuance of things. From dress, understanding how to properly engage and communicate with either a judge or with another lawyer can make your whole experience night and day.
Absolutely. Now, in your work, have you been able to establish any collaborative models?
So very very small and few in between. Because unfortunately, lawyers and attorneys, they cost a lot of money. Their time is worth a lot of money. And one thing that I've been able to recognize and see as we even move up into places like congressional things and things that have to do with the law within the common populace, I guess, for America, we see people reaching out to actually try and tackle and understand what if we're talking cyber and we're not talking private practices. We see a lot of attorneys trying to get smart about this new emerging domain. I say new, but it's been around for quite some time. But we have a lot of attorneys that have either tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, can you kind of talk to me about what this looks like, so that I can wrap my head around what a layperson would be encountering, so that legally they could then kind of ingest that and then speak intelligently about different things that they're encountering in defense or protection of their different clients, so to speak."
Mhm. And I think with that, it's just important to stress that it's got to be a two-way street, right? So we can use the internet, for example. Military was using that long before it became, available to consumers. And so, with AI, it's been around for quite some time. It's now being commercialized, so to speak.
Mm.
And so, I feel like if an attorney wants to pick your brain about your specialized skill set, at the same time, they do need to make themselves available so that pro se litigants can also pick their brains so they can go do the kind of things that they need to do. And so I just kind of want to put that out there for all our pre-law folks, our law students that are watching this. We need to do a better job of making ourselves available so that the people like Nico can do what they need to do. Okay. Okay. So, what role can technology play in expanding access to legal guidance for those handling their own cases? And so, you touched upon it a little bit, but you've also created a tool. So, you're able to use that technology to assist you and as well as, other people in having one of the skill sets, the most basic fundamental skill set of legal research that is taught to all law students. I want to go ahead and just jump ahead and play this video if I can here and show everyone. And this is from your Instagram where you were demonstrating the tool. It's a family law tool, and away we go.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. This is my first voiceover, so please bear with me. But I wanted to take the time to kind of share with you guys a project I've been working on. It's called IL Open Search Case Law. It's a pet project of mine, built around trying to assist with the discovery and research aspect of law. specifically for people who are pro se litigants. And for those who don't know what pro se is, that means defending yourself. And this should help from from the perspective of family law within Illinois. So as you can see, I created the little application as Windows, and then a prompt pops open. Within this prompt, we're going to go ahead and shrink that down so that you can kind of see a little bit more during this presentation. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and drop in simple query, visitation interference. This is not the limit to what it can be used to search for, but this tool is definitely focused around going across the open internet for whatever is publicly available and returning information that's correlated on your search or your query. This is specifically focused on Illinois. So there's more states, I know, but as you can see, you'll be returned this list of all relevant data that has to do with the case query that you entered in to the initial search. So we'll scroll through, and everything that it has access to, if there's any type of PDF document that's associated with the AKA case law, if you click on that on the PDF, it actually opens up a web page where it takes you directly to the data. I'm gonna take the time and show you. I'm gonna randomly go through this and click a few different ones just to show functionality and how it populates the page. But again, this is something that I found value in that worked pretty good for me, that I want to turn out and share. And if you guys have interest, you find value in this, or you guys would like to see the release of the Mac version of this and Linux version of it, feel free to contact me. Upon exiting or ending your query, you hit no, and then it'll bring you to this prompt, which says, hey, if you want to donate, feel free to donate. You hit OK, and it'll close out your entire session. Well, thanks for tuning in.
Okay, so for those of you guys that don't understand, this is an amazing tool that Nico has built. And just to put it in perspective, databases that we use in the legal community, like LexisNexis and Westlaw, those things can run thousands of dollars per month. And then on top of that, there's additional charges for every search, every query that you do. So what Nico has taken the time to do is it's invaluable when we're talking about pro se, because the biggest barrier to legal help is the lack of funds. And Nico's created a tool that is specifically for family law for now that can save you money and still give you pertinent case information, and you're going to want to reference that case information when you're filing your complaint with the court, so that way you can show legal precedents that have occurred to help your argument so you can win your case. So I commend you for that, Nico. That is an amazing tool, and that was what actually how I met you. And I was like, oh my God. And then I started to read more, and I was like, oh wow, Andy's a hacker. Please come on the show. So here we are. Did you want to talk any more about the tool, or do you want to go ahead and move on to cybersecurity?
Sure. I'll give a little bit of a little bit more information about the tool. When we start thinking about, like you said, LexisNexis, as a pro se litigant myself, right? LexisNexis costs a lot of money, and accessing Westlaw, if I'm using Westlaw's open source, because they have an open source feature, it wasn't as easy as something like Google. And I thought to myself, well, I'm pretty technical. I understand what a query is, right? I understand how to put together databases and aggregate data. And if I'm facing any reduction on time, that equals impact to efficiency. And why not use some of the skill sets that I've picked up along the way, some of the understandings that I work with in cybersecurity to ease my load or to make whatever I'm doing more efficient. And then on top of that, because I really believe in helping and being of service to people, I said, well, if it helped me, then maybe some other people who are in that realm or looking for things where I'm looking might be able to benefit from this tool as well. So I'm part of a few advocacy groups, and what I've done is just turned it loose and said, hey, if you think that you like it, or if it adds value, sure, contribute so that I can so that I can leverage my time more effectively. But beyond that, I'm looking to scope into bigger places, like beyond finding case law, actually finding statutes that correlate with those things. So more development to come. It's a CRUD application, but I think every little bit counts. And this is my contribution to the pro se group, as well as practicing legal professionals as well. Perhaps there's some attorney or someone that's doing research for an attorney that would just prefer to have a Google-esque approach to things versus having to have proper syntax and dates and times when things happen. And if we have more data, then we have more things to pull from in order to defend or to compel reasonable arguments or solutions on our behalf. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you're hanging your own shingle, I guess is what we call it in the legal community, when you start your own office, funds are limited there as well, right? You're still trying to get clients going, and maybe you're accessing, your law library from your alma mater because you still have access, but at some point you're not always going to be able to use them, And so having a tool like this is invaluable, especially as you continue to add more features. So very exciting, very thankful. Let's move on to all things cybersecurity. So we're going to dive into it in a couple of different ways. The legal profession, law students, that kind of thing as well, and get into it. So let's see here. So with legal professionals, what is the most naive thing that we do that leaves us vulnerable?
To be fair, it's not limited to you. It's limited to the general population. I would say sharing passwords, sharing Netflix passwords is hilarious because while it's something, okay. So if you look on any hacker forum or any type of forum with that talks about technology, you'll find a million guys and gals just saying, "Hey, can I hire you to hack in and get hack my girlfriend's password to her Facebook or what have you?" And of course, I don't accept those things, but that's one of the most requested things that exist out there. And I would say that you're enabling those type of things because conversely, we get the same type of situation when you break up with someone and you've been sharing your Hulu, you have been sharing your Netflix, and people have not wholly adopted security as a lifestyle. So when we're talking about two-factor authentication, right? That's a buzzword that's been going on. Making sure that we're not using passwords, we're using passphrases. One of the things that I recommend to people is, pick your favorite book, any of your favorite books, because you probably remember a few chapters of it. Take a few sentences out of there and utilize that as one of your, as a password or a basis for passwords. I know we talk about password management a lot in today's society. You hear it all the time, but I think that that level of exposure in our everyday is what opens up or allows that string to be pulled when we start talking about security and maintaining proper cyber hygiene, so to speak. If we're talking specifically to lawyers, It's the belief that your that your environment, or that the protections that are in place um, are as strong as, like you're just protected forever. And because we believe that things are protected forever, we tend to become a little bit more relaxed in updating these things, or in treating our security as you would treat client confidentiality, so to speak.
Yeah. It's hard because we all get those notifications from Google, for instance, that are like, "Hey, we found your password on like 35 sites. You might want to change it." Right. And then seldom do we change it. I can say I'm guilty of that. I'm like, it's they can have it. There's nothing important going on, you know. So definitely creating things that are a bit more harder to guess for sure. You know, nothing's what unimpenetrable, right? It's like with a supercomputer and time, that's how the FBI does what they do, you know. But in the grand scheme of things, we definitely all should be tightening up quite a bit, especially with TikTok. Okay, so
TikTok.
what are what are some of the top cyber risks and vulnerabilities that law firms should be aware of?
Okay, so listening to that question and thinking across the professions that I get the chance to interact with, I liken legal professionals or law firms to hospitals, because you're both in a very trusted position and expected to you. I guess you have the duty to maintain and to ensure that said information that has been passed on to you doesn't fall into someone else's hands. So right now, I can't get too far deep into it, but there has been some concern with data in transit. So let's say you're in charge of protecting my company, Stocks International, and I need to disclose to you some very sensitive things, right? Trade secrets, whatnot, and how we get that information to you, ensuring that that information is only seen by the people who we intend on it being seen by, and making sure that in the in between you and I transferring that information, that no changes have been done to that information, right? So I've seen people literally take USB drives and use that as their trusted method of transferring information to and from. I've seen people go as far back as using CDs, because the thought process was that people don't really use CDs right now, so it's not very likely that people use that. And then you have trusted solutions where people have VPNs that's in place to ensure that these things work. I think that when we start talking about additional risks, we talk about how things are in the office. You spoke earlier about getting that Google notification. BYOD is a thing, bringing in your machine into the office. And now that COVID has made its great approach to the world, we're now doing a lot of our work remotely. So that caused a significant strain on the security practices, because now are we expecting you, the employee, to hold and maintain the risk of a secured environment at home, right? And is a VPN enough? So those are some of the vulnerabilities that and risks that we have, as well as sensitive information. You're at home, so the expectation is that you're talking to your client, or you're doing whatever work you're doing inside of a room that's isolated from the rest of your family. Well, that's easy for a single person, But then let's put on a wife, let's add a kid. And we know that children from the ages 3 to 5, they are great recorders. They don't know what they're saying, but they'll say some random things. So, you know, those are some of the bigger risks that I think that we can address the most easy.
Okay. All right. Let's do cybersecurity again. And this time we're going to focus on law students besides the sharing of passwords. So, how can law students protect their own information and digital presence throughout law school and the job hunt? Because, you know, social media plays a huge factor when you're looking for a job.
Mhm. So there's a lot of levels of security when we're talking about securing ourselves, right? There is a possibility to secure myself so well that it's just not functional, right? So I've locked everything down. No one knows where I live. I'm not attached to social media, yada yada, blah blah blah, right? Um, that's a bit extreme, and I think that we should always keep that in the back of our head when we start talking about things, because that's the lens into which I believe we should look at as we start talking about securing ourselves. So the first thing that I would say, and I think that most law students should understand this, just providing the minimum necessary information, right? So you're out, you're going on a trip. I just came back from DEF CON, right? Which is a really great hacking conference here in the United States. As you travel, just making sure that, you know, whatever you're taking pictures of, wherever you're choosing to share with the public is something that won't compromise your safety, right? So we're talking about those selfies that we love to do in front of really cool things. Just making sure that maybe, you know, my license plate, my car isn't behind me, so you can't see my license plate. If physical security is a thing that I'm concerned with, and I would imagine that the young ladies out there, they probably are concerned about those type of things. Ensuring that, you know, photos, we don't have geotagging on our phones so that people can literally draw a map of all the places that you've been based upon downloading your photos. Really neat thing to know. Instagram implemented something really cool where they'll pull the metadata, which is the data that has location data and what type of phone you took it on. They do a good job at scrubbing that if you download it. So if I go to your Instagram and I pull down your picture, I'll just get what type of file format that is most of the time. So they've been actively working on this front. Beyond working in that way, when we go to coffee shops, right? Because again, poor law students gotta find places that have free Wi-Fi, right? Making sure that, you know, you sign up for a VPN if you can. Ensure that, of course, we want to look for the locks in the top of our URLs, and that's common knowledge. But also when you get text messages, because if we pay attention to around final season, I imagine if your schooling was like my schooling, around midterms and finals, everyone was really frazzled, but really focused on achieving their educational work. Well, we're starting to see trends where we're getting phishing emails, phishing text messages being sent to people during those times, kind of like, and I think that it's a correlation because of how close those specific things are to big holidays like Christmas and whatever, Easter. So just paying attention to the links that you're clicking. If you don't, like, if you get a message from somebody and it just doesn't sound right, because, you know, those are one of the indicators that you can pay attention to, is whether or not, you know, census struck. Does this sound like one of my friends? I know that they type stupid things, but does this sound like? Just pick up the phone and call them. Hey, did you text me this? and then they'll confirm. Just making sure that you're, on Facebook, we got all sorts of groups that are leveraging the Messenger app to try and befriend you and to get you to click links there as well, to redirect you to all sorts of things, to get you to reset your password so that you can get locked out of that, and then so on and so forth. So I think just a little bit more vigilance in how we communicate and what we communicate with will take us so far down the line as far as being safe overall.
I'm going to sidebar for a second here. So what are your thoughts about the decentralized movement that's happening now?
Okay. I think that it's a step in the right direction. But I don't think that execution, as I've seen it, has been executed very well. But that's expected with new technologies. I think that we just need to be aware when we engage in different or nuanced practices of the different challenges that are going to be present when we take on a new technology, that we may be required to be a little bit more vigilant in the beginning in order to get an easier and more secure output in the end.
Okay. Let's move on to digital forensics.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is where we get to nerd out now. Okay. So let's go to walk us through how attorneys can leverage digital forensics in building a legal case. What techniques and evidence are involved?
Okay. Well, I must preface everything with, this is my experience, and it's not the whole of everything that can be done. But I think, now I know that the first step, whenever you're trying to present anything digitally, because I had to do this in a personal case of mine, you need to establish chain of custody as soon as possible, and have reputable sources or methods as to where and how you obtain said documentation, file, behavior, and those things. It becomes a bit hairy when you're trying to say that someone did something from this location, right? Because of the utilization of VPNs, the ability for me to fake geographically where my computer is, those are some of the obstacles that we start to bump into. However, when we start talking about, let's just talk about performing digital forensics on a hard drive, right? And we're trying to prove that employee A accessed this mainframe and pulled off SOX company secrets, right? The first thing that you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to get a list of the personnel that you can speak to that actually would have permission to engage or to act within those spaces. That would typically come from the manager up to C-level is where you're probably going to talk, and you're probably going to be talking to my legal team as well. You're going to want to aggregate or get your hands on a forensic copy of the affected piece of architecture. In this case, we have a hard drive, right? So the one thing that getting a forensic copy of this hard drive is going to provide us is two things. It's going to give us twofold. You can make multiple copies, but when you do make your copies, what you'll have is you'll make sure that you have you'll have a list, a document that speaks to who and what, like who touched this machine, who did the copy, and who they transferred that over to, right? So that's going to establish your chain of custody. You're also going to be looking at all of your hashes. Now, what hashes are inside of cyber, inside the IT field, is it is a string of numbers that tell me or relate to the data that's captured within this specific device, right? So if let's say it's a 23-letter alphabet alphanumeric string, and then it ends in A, B, C, D, E, F, right? If I then turn this over and I say, hey, this is, this machine or this hard drive is directly a direct copy from this machine, and it does not have A, B, C, D, E, F ending in it, and I'm being extremely light on this topic, then you'll be able to tell that either the files on this machine have been compromised, or that this is not indeed the copy that you expected to inherit. From there, now that you have that copy, and you know what files, what the hashes of all the files are on that particular machine, you'll then take it to incident responder, or you'll be able to take it to a digital forensics professional, and what they'll be able to do is comb through and identify different changes and manipulations within either that affected piece of infrastructure. We're saying a hard drive right now, but that can even expand into computers or into networks as well. So the biggest way that you would be able to leverage a digital forensic professional is by understanding what specifically you're looking for. So in the beginning of this thought experiment, we spoke to someone was trying to extract Nico's or SOC's international secret information, right? We'll ask, hey, where's that stored? Do you have backups? Where are those things backed up from, and who has access to them? Then we'll go through logs. Someone will comb through a bunch of logs, and then they'll come up and say, hey, during this time, this person accessed this endpoint or this device. And we also have different pieces of technology that exist out there that can assist you with that as well, that provides auditing and oversight on your entire environment as well. And what you could do with that is you can gain the logs from that as well. So now you have the physical and you have the documentation. You're going to have to also identify a professional that's going to be able to go to the stand and speak intelligently about how a person was able to go in from outside of SOC's enterprise or international, gain access, or someone inside was able to go bypass security metrics or methods, and then be able to articulate to the court, based upon their professional experience, this is how, and this is how things were executed, and these are the steps that were taken in order to gain access to that special secret sauce.
Nico, all of that sounds really expensive. Like, this does not sound like something that poor people can do. Okay. So with this, we'll use deep fake since we're a nation of buzzwords now. Okay. Can someone essentially augment these hashes to their benefit? Like, can they be augmented to say what someone would want to say in order to frame someone?
Yes, but it wouldn't be easy. It wouldn't be easy. Well, okay. Let's back up. Okay. Let's say we have a mom and pop shop, right? They just started, brand new. They have no cybersecurity, anything out there. it's easier for those techniques for manipulation, impersonation to happen to files at that level than somebody like Palo Alto or I don't know Kirkland and Ellis in the legal field, right? If I went after Kirkland and Ellis, I would have no doubt, and I don't work for them or have any relationship with them, but I have no doubt that they have a competent security team and they would be able to identify those things. Now here's where I caveat my answer. If I'm dealing with a uninformed person, then of course I could. I could forge documents. I could, but the way that the chain of custody is supposed to be carried out is supposed to act in defense against human interaction. So if we're talking faxes, if we're talking about emails, someone would have to intercept the transmittal of that information and also defeat the encryption that a company may have in place. So could someone do it? Absolutely. It's without a doubt. There's possibility for these things to occur. But the likelihood of it happening would definitely change based upon the target group.
Okay. Let's move on to bridging the gap. Okay. How can legal teams and IT security collaborate effectively when containing, investigating, and recovering from cyber attacks?
Mm-hmm. I would say from the legal aspect, understanding that your legal team gets what terms are going to be utilized. When people use the term hacker, even right, I wouldn't call myself a hacker. I just call myself a technologist. But when you hear the term hacker, that causes certain people to move a very different way. I think that is important when we start talking about things like, okay, encryption, and we start talking about pivoting and initial entry, all these different very important terms. It's important for our legal team to understand what those things mean, or to at least have a person from the legal team that's liaised with your cyber team in such a way that they are used to the culture. Because with all cultures comes a specific vernacular or common parlance that they're going to use that help them understand that's quite different than our everyday communication, right? And that's even reflected in how regular people talk and lawyers talk. If I ask you, Tawana, what is the plural form of person?
People.
Okay, people will say people. But if we look at legal documentation, we see person and persons with the S inside of the braces or the parentheses. So I think education is where we really start to collaborate effectively, getting to understand and cutting through the buzzwords. I'm okay. I've been compromised, or this machine has been compromised, can mean a myriad of things. But in this context, compromised machine means this. That in turn allows your defenders, right, to either act outside of what your policy is inside the entire corporation. There may be an instance where, hey, I need to call in outside help. So the vetting process can then be more quickly reduced because my legal team understands the necessity of getting this outside help in to support this particular situation. So that's just one small way that I think that we could collaborate and get more effective when we're talking about things like this. And also when we start talking about recovering and reestablishing the new norm after an incident, right? Becoming, I believe, being a military person yourself, as we go through difficult times, you often emerge with the people that you went through it with stronger bonds. And if we can strengthen those communication paths and that understanding, then I believe that we have better. There, people aren't afraid of legal to come into the cyberspace and to investigate. It's more looked at as a benefit versus they're coming down to audit me or to see if I'm operating within the law or that somebody did something bad or wrong, right?
Yeah, we're always worried about policing. So, speaking of trauma bonds, let's take a look at some of the comments here. When we start at the top of the show, TR Brown stopped by. Go Army. Great to meet you, Nico. Excited to hear your perspective. She is prior service as well, aviation.
Awesome.
So we hung out a few weekends ago when I was in Chicago. And I told her, I said, it's trauma bonding. You know what I'm saying? We all know what the military is like. I don't need to know anything about her. She just knows I already have her back, you know?
Right,
So it's
right.
that kind of thing. And then your friends came by too.
Oh wow,
So
look
J
at
May
that.
came by and Kofi G came by and Desiree came by as well. So thank you guys for stopping by. Okay, let's do capture the flag. And then we'll be able to talk a little bit more about soldiers and saints as well. So
Awesome.
here we go. Capture the flag. So this is you
Oh
with
wow.
Blacks in Cyber. So I grabbed that. And yeah, I don't know much about capture the flag. It sounds amazing. Can you give us a primer?
Oh yeah. Man, capture the flag is an opportunity. Well, all right. Let's back up before I jump down that path. All right. So, capture the flag is typically a contest where security professionals engage in activities that will allow them to strengthen their skill sets. So when we talk about capture the flag, we're talking about either a red team. Well, we'll use military terms, right? Red and blue team. So red is the bad guys, and blue team are the good guys, right? So the red team guys are attempting to gain access and to also exfil or take or steal different things or artifacts, which we call flags, right? So a flag can be something as simple as NicoWasHere.com and it's hidden somewhere inside of a computer process, or it can be an actual computer that I have to maintain control of. So I need to gain access and then lock everyone else out of and maintain control of that system until for a allotted amount of time. There's also some other techniques called steganography. Steganography is closer to what you were talking about earlier, which is the ability to create a chameleon process or to create an imitation of something that's actually supposed to be there. So with steganography, one of the challenges is to have our CTF participants to go get hold of a picture and then find a secret message inside of something as common as a picture, right? Sometimes it's a long string of letters that need to be unencoded so that you can get the answer to whatever the question or the riddle was. Also, they have something called reverse engineering, or and reverse engineering is when you take a program like my open source search program, and inside that program, I have a hidden Easter egg or a hidden line of text. And so the participants will take that piece of that piece of code. They'll break it down. They'll do some reverse engineering, and then they'll do a search to find out where that secret word is, and then they'll report that. So those are all flags. What how we use them is very common to how the military practices marksmen, and they practice escaping and evading and actually storming beaches, right? That's just a digital form where I set up a server, I set up different computers in the cloud for the participants to attack. And again, what makes this fun is that it's legal. I've given permission to the participants to carry out these techniques. And I think that's the big takeaway. And there's other capture the flag type websites such as Hack the Box and counterdefender.com that does things like that.
That's awesome. In some ways, it's like one of those escape rooms too, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, that's fun. So, idiot like me, how easy is it to get started doing capture the flag?
I believe that there are no idiots. There's just people who haven't been exposed to it. So all you have to do is you just have the desire. Most of the challenges they have very easy challenges like Pico CTF that exists, and that was actually built for grade school, I believe, grade school to high school participants. And also, I host small training CTFs to get people who aren't experienced into the mindset so that they can practice and give it a try. But I think that you could very quickly get in and at least get 1 to 7 flags out of a 12 flag CTF.
Okay. So now let's talk about soldiers and saints. So this is your nonprofit that you put together to do some of these things that you're already doing. Just give me an overview of the mission of Soldiers and Saints.
Oh, okay, cool. Soldiers and Saints is actually a pet project, something that I felt very passionate about. I named it Soldiers and Saints because the soldier aspect is I'll always support a soldier-driven issue. So quite familiar, like the Wounded Warrior Foundation or something like that. I will, I do different volunteerings and fundraising events in order to support soldier centric things. And the Saints aspect is where I wanted to have the flexibility to tag on to anything that I felt passionate about. The very first thing that I got involved with was Autism Speaks. I was coming back from Afghanistan, noticed that some of the soldiers that had received injuries in Afghanistan weren't receiving quite the best treatment that I felt like they should have had. So in 3 days, I raised $7,000 and was able to push that on over to the Wounded Warrior Foundation. And I decided during that time I also wanted to bring about awareness of autism and specifically autism in the Black community. So I raised money there as well at the same event, and that's where we're focused. We're focused on taking skill sets and taking the drive to be of service to the greater community at large, and putting a face and some time and effort behind it. So that's pretty much what Soldiers and Saints has been doing. We've actually been able to work with Teachers and which is another great organization that is focused on informing educators and enabling educators to be able to reach out and do some really amazing things as far as expanding the boundaries of education from where you would traditionally see it into the most unique ways and into some very fantastic places.
Awesome. So we're at the end of our show. Is there anything else that you want to talk about that maybe we didn't touch upon today?
Um, I really, I'm really, really grateful for you to give me this time to come forward. I don't have anything spectacular to talk about that's going to happen right now in this quarter, but as we move forward into other quarters, keep your eyes out as Soldiers and Saints through Ephemeral Networks, a subsidiary of Soldiers and Saints, begins remote learning opportunities for disadvantaged youths from ages of elementary school all the way up to high school, where we'll be providing cyber training and getting people in the perspective of better cyber hygiene and cyber awareness all the way out into the near future. So that's all I have, and I'd like to thank you.
That is so awesome. So you can catch up with Nico via soldiersandsaints.com. On the website, it says, "Welcome to our community of military-minded individuals who are dedicated to helping our fellow soldiers and making a positive impact on the world. We may not be a large company, but we are a passionate group of individuals who are eager to lend a helping hand wherever we can. Our mission is guided by 5 principles: accessibility to skill sets for all, redemption, perseverance, investment of community, and dignity and respect for all. These values are at the core of everything we do, and we strive to embody them in all of our actions." Nico Smith. Nico, you are so awesome, man. I am so excited to work with you going forward, trying to figure out how I can be of assistance with pro se litigants, but also just to talk about blurred things. And to be able to plant the seed for STEM in our community. So I commend you, and thank you so much for coming on the show as well. And I'm looking forward to learning and growing and doing the things that our hearts have set out to do. So with that, I bid everyone adieu. Thank you so much. This has been Bridging the Gap.